Hey guys, thanks so much for stopping by. My name is Hollabec. Today I'm going to show you how I made this really cute pink striped blouse. It was my first time making a blouse, so it's definitely not perfect, so bear with me. But I wanted to at least share the process with you guys, and if you are seamstresses and you have any tips for me, please leave them down in the comments. I'm always trying to learn and grow, and that being said, I will show you how I made this. The first step, of course, was to draw out my design. So I wanted to get a visual of what I wanted it to look like, and then also to kind of break down what pieces I would need to make it. The next step was to get my measurements. And so for this blouse, I ended up measuring the length of my arms, the circumference of my wrists, my shoulders, because this is an off-the-shoulder blouse. I also measured my bust and the length of my torso. Once I had all my measurements and the pieces that I would need, I decided this time around to measure out and cut from paper first. If you remember from my pinafore dress, I measured it all out on the fabric, and it's a lot more difficult that way. And this way I have the pieces of paper still that I can use to make adjustments to or make another shirt in the future. So it just made more sense to me to do it this way. Once I had all of my pieces cut from paper, I then pinned those pieces to my fabric and cut around them. And I left my fabric pinned to the pieces of paper, which I did label, and that is so important. Label your pieces of paper, and that's gonna help you keep track of everything. I can't even imagine the mess you would have if you didn't have everything labeled. So the very first pieces that I sewed together were the main torso pieces. So there were two, and I just sewed each end together to make a sort of cylindrical shape, and that's the main piece that goes around my tummy. The next pieces I sewed together were the sleeve pieces, and those I hemmed together to create a cylinder which would go around my arms. Now I think the hardest part of this blouse was sewing the wrist pieces to the sleeves. So that would be the little wrist piece that grips around your wrist and kind of makes your sleeves look all puffy. So to put that together, I needed to gather up one end of each sleeve, and I had to gather up enough so that it would match up to the length of the wristlet. Once that was all gathered, I then decided to sew together the wristlet to actually make it into the cylinder that would go around my wrist. And I know how I did this was not the easiest way to do it. I know that there is probably a much easier way, but this is the way I chose to do it. So once that was done, I then folded the wristlet in half and sandwiched the sleeve in between it and sewed it all together that way. And it was a pain in the butt because I could only sew a little bit at a time because my sewing machine's not really set up for that. So again, probably a much easier way to do that, but that's how I did it, and it was really hard. Once the sleeves were done, I then had to attach them to the main torso part, and to do this was a little bit difficult as well because I ended up having to cut the seam about 4 inches down on each side of that torso piece to sort of slide the sleeve in, because in the end it all had to equal the same circumference that I would need for the shoulder piece. So it took a little doing to get everything situated just right so it looked like it would measure up correctly. And so once I was confident, I sewed the sleeves into place and then the shoulder piece into place, and I did that the same way that I did the wristlets to the sleeves. So I folded it over and sandwiched everything in between. And then the very last step was to sew on the ties that tie around each shoulder. So to make each tie piece, there's actually 4 altogether. So I sewed those into cylindrical shapes, and then I put 2 on the front attached to the inside of the shoulder pieces, and then 2 in the back also attached to the inside of the shoulder piece. So this was the final blouse. I know I probably didn't do the best job explaining what all I did, but I wanted to give you guys at least a basic idea of how I put it together. I completely winged it. I am a total amateur. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure out what works for me and what I like and how things come together and what my sewing machine can handle. So it was a very fun process, and this blouse is definitely not perfect. There are so many things wrong with it, so many things that I would do differently now, but that's part of jumping into things and trying new things, is you learn from your mistakes. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you want to see more sewing videos, please leave me a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments. I plan on doing a lot more sewing. I love clothes. I love making them, buying them. I just love them. If you want to see me continue to grow and better myself and pick up new skills, please subscribe to my channel. I put out new, weird, interesting things weekly, so you never know, you might find something you like. And that being said, guys, I will see you the next time around.